Well, 82 matches down, 22 to go, 241 goals scored so far at the 2026 FIFA World Cup with the Golden Boot race, of course, heating up until now. And of course, Messi and Mbappe tied up at the top with 6 goals apiece as we get closer and closer to the second round of the knockout phase. The round of the two has been brutal to the African continent. 9 out of 10 African teams qualified for the round of the two, but only 5 remain to secure a last 16 place. Hello, Africa and the whole world. Welcome to Dai Dai 106 Roundup Analysis Show, live on Walk with Sagini. I am fortunate enough this evening to be joined by a panelist full of knowledge and pundits from across Africa. Stephen Lavon joins us live all the way from West Africa in Lom, Togo. And from Mzansi in South Africa, it's KB Modishane in Pretoria. And lastly, from Nairobi is the Kenyan duo of Dan Ogega and Martin Njui, who will be gracing this show this evening or this afternoon. Welcome on board, ladies and gentlemen, from wherever you're watching this show from. Asante sana. Yabonga. Merci. And of course, let me just start by welcoming my pundits on the show. And I'll start from the south, then to the west, then back to East Africa before we kick off live this show this evening. And from South Africa, KB Modishane, the first time ever on this show. Dumela, or is it Sawubona, KB?
Both greetings apply. No worries about it. As you know, we have 11 official languages, so it can be Sabona, can be Dumela, it can be Tobela, it can be Ashe, whatever suits your boat.
Yeah, very nice to have you this evening on this broadcast. KB Modishane, we always say ngiyabonga to say asante sana, karibu sana na kipindi. And of course, Stephen Lavon all the way from Lom, Togo. How do we say in French? We say bonjour, bienvenue et toi.
Merci beaucoup. We say bienvenue, merci, bonjour. You know everything already, so it is okay.
Nice to have you, my brother. Welcome on the show. And of course, Martin Njui from Kenya, where I am also. Njui, welcome on the board again, once again, this time for the 3rd episode of Dai Dai Iko World Cup edition.
Thank you so much for inviting us once more. Right now is a very exciting moment for global football in general, and I can't wait to get started. And once again, hello to Modishane, hello to Sven. So I'm really looking forward to this, what will hopefully be a fruitful discussion, of course. So asante sana.
Greatly. My name is Jason Sagini, the sports archbishop. Wherever you're watching from, guys, you can also be part and parcel of this show by just sending in your comments, your sentiments on YouTube Live, on Facebook Live, and also on LinkedIn Live. Tell me, where are you watching this show from? And what do you think is ailing Africa at this World Cup? And of course, who do you think is going to win the Golden Boot race at the World Cup? Is it Messi? Is it Mbappe? Is it Harry Kane? Is it Haaland? Who is it? Or is it Iwan Wissa, or is it any other guy from Morocco? Is it Sabri? Tell me on the comment section. I'll be reading your comments as we continue with this broadcast. And of course, let's just kick off straight into it and just look at how the knockout phase has been, because I mentioned it earlier on that it has been so brutal to the African continent. At the moment as we speak, only 5 nations remain in this tournament. And of course, this is how things look after round 1 of the knockout phase, round of 32. And of course, at the moment, we only have 10 teams which have already qualified, 6 remaining. Who is it going to be? And in those 10 teams that have already qualified for the last 16, one African nation stands out: Morocco, the Atlas Lions, the defending African champions, who are now going to look to get into that quarterfinal once again after making it into the semifinals in the past edition in Qatar in 2022, 4 years back. But then, guys, we will of course start by talking about Africa, because at the moment as we speak, many of the giants have been knocked out of this tournament, including Germany, Netherlands, who have been knocked out. Is it time for small nations to catch up with the lead sides? And of course, officiating has been on the spotlight as we head into the serious phase of the knockout. And of course, France, who are one-time winners in 2018, who also reached the final in 2022 against Argentina, where they lost. Will they reach another final yet this time round, when they'll be looking for another final again. But of course, we start off with Africa. But before we kick off with Africa, let me just give some shout outs on Facebook, also on YouTube Live. Timothy Kalia is watching on Facebook, along also with Nyado Kevin, Kan Lala, Brian K.E., Isaac Makanda, and Michael Ateku. They're also joined and watching live on Facebook. Of course, Africa is on the spotlight. 5 nations have been knocked out, 5 are remaining. Who will make it? Morocco made history, but of course, representing this continent the other day by qualifying for the last 16 after a penalty shootout in that game. Of course, Steve, Morocco, they are good reps for African continent so far.
Yeah, for sure. Like if you remember 4 years ago in Qatar, Morocco was the best representative of Africa at the World Cup. So even this year, everyone bets on that team because they have very, very, very good players, and they showed in the group phases that they were a very, very good team. They were not afraid of Brazil. They were not afraid of Scotland and even Haiti. So that team, even when they were trailed by Netherlands, they find the strength to come back and win this game. So this team is one of our big chances to go far in this tournament, and I think every African should be cheering on them. And I know that Achraf Hakimi and his teammates will do everything that they can to do the same level where they finished 4 years ago in Qatar, and even go beyond, the semi-finals like we saw 4 years ago. So this Moroccan team is making us very, very proud.
In fact, indeed, Morocco, the Atlas Lions are making us very, very proud as an African continent. But then, KB, look at this guy, Issa Diop, coming on as a second-half substitute and, of course, making a difference for Morocco. Do you think, or do you see Morocco making it all the way to the semis where they were 4 years ago?
Well, I mean, if you saw how they progressed all the way to the semi-finals and the tough competition that they had to get through to get there, you can't really count them out this time around either. I mean, 4 years ago, they went through the likes of Belgium in the group stages. They went through Spain in the round of 16. They beat Portugal in the quarterfinals. And they only lost out to France in the semi-finals. I mean, this time around, they played an amazing game against Brazil, a game which they deserved to win. They've already beaten the Netherlands in the round of 32, and now they're going up against Canada in the round of 16, where if you look at that game and if you look at the teams on paper, you really can fancy Morocco's chances against the Canadians going into that round of 16 matchup. And with the way they progressed last time around, they can beat anyone and they can beat everyone. So listen, you can't write them out. You cannot write out the Atlas Lions at this point. They have been the cornerstone and the shining piece of African football, and they are the example that the rest of the African teams need to follow in these big competitions.
Very good indeed. Mark, where do you see Morocco going so far in this tournament?
I think Morocco, have proven they have everything it takes to make it all the way. I remember in 2022 they got all the way to the semi-finals against all odds. I actually fancied them to make the semi-finals at the time, and that's simply because the way they were playing at the time was pragmatic, and then hitting teams on the break, as teams should when it comes to knockout competition. With knockout competition, it's not about swashbuckling stuff. It's about who's most effective. And you could argue that 4 years down the line, they actually be stronger. Of course, having players like Ismail Saibari, who was one of the shining lights at AFCON 2025. Right now, he's can't stop scoring. I think just under moved to a major club in Europe. Players like Brahim Diaz as well, who 4 years ago were playing for Spain and right now play for Morocco. Players like the hugely talented Ayub Bouadi, who's controlling games. I think against Brazil in the opening game, he ran the show and they were actually unlucky not to actually win that game. So I believe, like my colleagues are saying, I think they are the closest chance that we have as a continent of actually making history. I still think ultimately France will prove too strong in the end, but I believe Morocco have all the tools in place to potentially make another semi-final as well. So I think everything is looking well for them, considering that Netherlands, who was strongly tipped to go far, they managed to upset the odds and knock them out of the competition. So I believe we might witness another semi-final, a back-to-back semi-final from Morocco, which will be commendable in itself. So
all right, great. Of course, after Morocco making Africa proud, being the only team to have qualified so far into the last 16, let's just take a look at another team, which of course did not quite have any luck to make it into the last 16 after making it for the first time ever. Your national team, KB Modishane, Bafana, getting knocked out at the last 32. How will you sum up South Africa's performance at this World Cup tournament?
I mean, we left in a whimper. I feel as though in the game against Canada, we could have done a lot more in terms of going forward and going in attack. I feel as though had our passing in the final third been a bit better, I think we could have made our way into the round of 16. We could have found ourselves facing Morocco. But the tournament as a whole, I mean, if you had to see where we were in the opening game and you had to see how we ended up leaving the tournament, I mean, Bafana were picking up confidence as the games were going on and on and on. I mean, if you saw in the opening game, they very much struggled against the Mexicans. I mean, to lose 2-0, to get 2 red cards against one of the co-hosts of this World Cup, I mean, that was always going to be a very, very, very tough task for us. But then to lose the way that we lost, definitely dampened our spirits a little bit. But then in the Czechia game against the Czech Republic, we started off slowly. The Czech Republic got that very early goal in the 6th minute, but then as the game went on and on and on, you could see Bafana, they were starting to attack. They're starting to attack more and more and more. And luckily, Thapelo Maseko managing to take that long-range shot to win us the penalty. And then Debogo Mokoena equalizing for us against Czech to give us hope. And then the game against South Korea, I think that will forever go down as one of our greatest performances ever, because that would essentially be the performance that would take us into the knockout rounds for the very first time in our history. So I think in terms of what we were aiming to do, I think South Africa achieved exactly what they set out to achieve, and that is to get out of the group stages and to get into the knockout rounds. Now it's about building on that. It's about moving forward. It's about being better going forward, and also being better in the defensively as well. So we need to now improve our football to the point where we can now start competing with the world powers. And listen, it's still a long way to go, but I feel as though we're going in the right direction.
Great, of course, Bafana getting an early exit, and as I'm informed at the moment is that they landed this morning in Joburg at the Oliver Tambo Airport, and they were received by a massive crowd of fans at home as they arrived back home after getting knocked out, and of course make it for the first time ever into the knockout stages of the World Cup. And of course, Hugo Broos, the national team head coach, had really initially said that this will be his last time to be coach of the national team. And as rumors start us now, it seems like Pitso Motsimane could be the next manager for Bafana, but of course that is a story to come another day. But Stephen Lavon in Togo, look at this. It seems like 86 is the unlucky number for African teams at this World Cup.
All I can say is that it's just a coincidence, yeah, for sure. Côte d'Ivoire, DR Congo, and Senegal, they conceded games at 86 minutes, but it's just a coincidence of number. But what you can say that our African teams are very, very euphoric. When we are leading or when you equalize a goal, we start thinking that we already win the game, and we stop playing. From some teams, they stop playing. Like Côte d'Ivoire, when they equalize against Norway, they stop playing and they let the ball to Norway, and the Norway did everything they want with the ball. But for DR Congo, I can say that is a lack of inexperience. I mean, they were not experienced because it's the first time that they were reaching the second round of a World Cup. since 52 years of absence. And also, England was there to win that game. And when they saw that Congo can't go far enough in that game, they seized their chances, So I think the most disappointment was yesterday with Senegal, because when we are leading 2-0, a team like Belgium, that was very, very poor since the beginning of this World Cup. You can't let that game out, we can't let that game out. I call it a professional foul, because when you have a team like Senegal that is champions of Africa, okay, we know that everything going on around that title, but we can say that they are champions of Africa. So when you are champions of Africa, you can't let your continent down like that. So how do you explain this? For me, like I said, we know that today our African teams don't have players like Haaland, don't have players like Kane, Mbappe, or even, I don't know, those big players that can handle a game when the team is poor, when the team is tired, So it is one problem. Second problem for me is the lack of depth of our benches. When our teams put their 11 first players, there's no more strong players coming from the bench that can help the team. Every time that the coach is making some changes, you can see that the team don't improve. They never improve. So those players coming from the bench don't add value to the team. So it is a problem for me. And the third one I can say is also about the concentration. Our players, they always lose concentration in the last 9 minutes of the game. It's not just this year. If you look back 4 years or even 8 years ago, in Russia World Cup and the Qatar World Cup, we witnesses such kind of games. I can remember that there was games in Russia and Qatar that we have the same thing of finishing of our game. So I think it is a crucial problem for our African teams that our coaches, I don't know if only our coaches, but all the environment of our African teams should look into, so that you can correct that, because it's not very, very good. You have good teams, they go to World Cup, and I just think that they are happy once they go out to the phase group. They are already happy because they are in the second round. They have done their World Cup, and you can see that around other teams. So I think it is very, very disappointment what we saw yesterday with DR Congo and Senegal, and you have to work better so that we don't have those teams with Algeria, Egypt, or even Cape Verde. Even though we know that with Cape Verde, it's gonna be very, very difficult with Argentina.
Indeed. And so to put it, of course, Stephen Lavon, you had, of course, touched on Senegal, and I want us to just dwell now on Senegal, Mark. Look at yesterday's game. Pape Gueye gets an early substitution when they were leading, yes, but this guy, to my own opinion, he was the best player for Senegal. He was breaking those lines and, of course, defending well, and, of course, spreading the passes front forward to the likes of Sadio Mane. But what does their head coach do? He gets an early substitution, Pape Diaw. Was it rightful for him to be substituted earlier off in the game?
I think what I'll say is Senegal only have themselves to blame, because they shouldn't have let that game get to extra time, let alone get them getting a controversial penalty. Some people are saying it was a penalty, others are saying it wasn't. But fact remains, they shouldn't have let it get to that point. And like you rightly put it, I think taking off Pape Gueye, I think, was tactical suicide, because what Pape Gueye does, Pape Gueye is the kind of player that they have, given that they already have Idrissa Gueye and Diarra. These are two players, these are two midfielders who are more workhorses, horses for courses players. But in Pape Gueye, you have someone who can actually pass the ball forward for you, and someone who can actually retain possession for you. which creates a platform where the likes of Sadio Mane, the likes of Ismail Hassan, Diaye, and all these progressive players to effectively express themselves, and that's what they were doing. So by taking him off and bringing in someone who keeps things simple, keeps things tidy, you're basically telling the opposition that you're sitting back and you're protecting your 2-0 lead. And I always say in football, the most dangerous scoreline is a 2-0 lead, not even a 1-0 lead. When you're leading 1-0, it's easy for you to. When you're leading 1-0, you tend not to lose concentration because you know that you only have one goal and you are protecting it. If you are leading by 3-0, effectively the game is done. But when you're leading by 2-0 and then the opposition gets 1 goal back, effectively, your entire system is unstabilized, and I think that's what they did. So by Papeke taking off, this guy to bring on this other guy, effectively you are basically playing into Belgium's hand, and Belgium said thank you very much and equalized, and then took it all the way to extra time. And then whatever happened, which is very unfortunate. Before we move on to the next agenda, I was actually having a discussion with someone around 2 hours ago on WhatsApp. And I think we share the same sentiments in the sense that African teams in general, it's not that they don't have good players, because we've seen, the quality of players has increased dramatically. Most of these players are playing and starting for, top clubs that take part in the top 5 leagues in Europe. But there is that element of game management, and I think that's where the buck stops with the manager. So I think Senegal only have themselves to blame, but they need to learn very quickly from this and move on quickly, because the 2030 World Cup will be here before you know it.
Greatly, rightfully put it there. Virginia Sancho is watching on Facebook, and she says, Africa, I am sad but hopeful of Morocco. She's watching all the way from Parklands, Nairobi, Kenya, and she says, absolutely amazing. Nice to see other Africans on the show today. Say hi to all of them. They have received your greetings. And Miyabe Mondi Sakande says hello. I believe and I trust this is a South African. Clinton Nyaramba is also saying that he is also watching the show alongside with Michael Ateku, also watching. Isaac Makanda says, add me to the live. Talk to me, I'll add you the next show. For today, we are full house packed, but next show we can accommodate you, Isaac Makanda. For today, you can just enjoy the conversation here. But then, guys, KB, this other guy, we've talked about Pape Diaw, but then there's another guy also who is on the spotlight from the African continent. Who is this? Amos Faye, Ivory Coast's Cote d'Ivoire's national team head coach, who put Amad Diallo on the bench on this game, which is a knockout game. Would you say he approached the game well, or his approach was wrong?
Ooh, this is a very tricky one for me, because once Amad Diallo came in from the bench, you could immediately see the change that he was making. You could immediately see that he injected that bit of energy that the Ivory Coast were lacking going forward in that attack. And that goal that he scored, what a beautiful goal that it was, managing to just chop past a couple of players and then blasting it into the back of the net. I think for Amos Faye, I believe that he did make a mistake in benching Amad Diallo, more especially in a game against Norway, because when you look at the Norwegian team, yes, you can talk about Haaland all you want, and Haaland has been brilliant at this World Cup. He's got 5 goals to his name at this World Cup, but then it's not just Haaland that's playing on the team. You've got to look at the other players on the team that can change the game and that can make a difference for the Norwegians. You look at the likes of Martin Odegaard in the midfield. You look at the likes of Jürgen Strand Larsen. You look at Sander Berger, who put up a couple of good performances in the Champions League. And who could forget Antonio Nusa on the left wing? He is also a key player he's also been a key player for the Norwegians at this World Cup so far. So when you look at the Ivory Coast team, I mean, yes, you've got Nicolas Pepe, yes, you've got Franck Kessié, but you need to have an Amad Diallo in your team, and you need to be starting a player like Amad Diallo, because you need to have that injection of energy, that injection of pace, that injection of trickery, that injection of flair, that injection of creativity from the get-go all the way throughout, because what you're going to be doing is, with a player like Amad Diallo, you can be putting the defense under pressure because he's so tricky, he is so skillful, he's so creative going forward that he's going to have the defenders thinking, and he's going to have the defenders defending for their lives, and he could have them tied as the game goes on, and that's where Amad Diallo can really strike against the Norwegian defense. But I think it was a mistake for him to bring him on from the bench. I think he was a player that needed to start so that he could give the Ivory Coast that bit of injection and that bit of energy early on in the game so that they could possibly even go on to win the game. But unfortunately, that did not turn out to be the case.
As a Red Devil fan, I must say that Amad Diallo deserved more than what he was given by his teammates. I can say that he fought for the team, but then his teammates didn't fight for him. But then Steven Levon, look at Yohan Wissa. He has scored, I think, 3 goals so far this tournament, but what a painful exit for the DR Congo and the Leopard, because why Leopard were leading that game 1-0, an earlier goal scored by Sipenga, but then in the 86th minute, they concede what could be one of the goals that is going to knock them out of the game. At the moment, it's job done for the Leopard, who are returning after 52 years hiatus, and now they're back to Kinshasa. What would you say about DRC's performance at this World Cup?
No, like I said already, DRC should be proud of what they have done in this World Cup, because it had been 52 years that they have reached World Cup. So they should be proud of it. But we are in 2026, and now we have to be more severe with our African team so that they can perform better. They can do more than what they are doing at the moment. This team of DR Congo was good and was handling very well his game against England. And even Yohan Wissa got a chance to add a second goal, so that the team can be more comfortable in that game. But he misses some chances, and that bring England into back the game. So it was very hard for them. And as you saw, like I said already, on their bench, they were not players ready to come on the pitch and help. So those who are already on the pitch and improve the game, improve the performance. So I think it was very, very difficult for them. And when you see a player like Cedric Bakambu was not helpful in this tournament. He was, I don't know, he was just a shadow of himself, because we know Bakambu is a very good player. He can score goals, but in this World Cup, he can barely even have a shot on target. So it was very, very difficult for that DRC Congo team. But like I said, they can be proud of themselves, and I think they should continue on this. And I think is wanting to look after for the next AFCON, because they have been so close to win it in Cote d'Ivoire, and even this year in Morocco they were not too bad. So I think it is a team that we can cheer on in the coming years. And I think if they keep their technical staff, and also bring on some young players that can help the team perform, and that can help the team improve, I think they can do better in the next coming years. Thank you.
Bila shaka. Of course, remember you're watching Dai Dai on Walk with Sagini live on Facebook, on YouTube, and also on LinkedIn. You can join this conversation by just sending in your sentiments on the comment section. Tell me, who do you think is going to win the Golden Boot race at this World Cup? And of course, just tell me where you're watching from. And of course, maybe if you're an African watching this show, just let me know in your own perception, what do you think is ailing African teams at this 2026 FIFA World Cup in the USA, Canada, and of course, Mexico? More action coming on tonight. But before that, we have also seen, apart from just Africa having some brutal introduction to knockout stage, we've also seen some brutality into or for some big European nations, clubs or national teams like Germany, the German machine, after scoring the biggest margin win in the group stage. Unbelievable, incredible scenes whereby Paraguay knocked out Germany, not only Germany, but also Netherlands, the Dutch, the Orange, who are also knocked out. And as we say, as at now, after that loss for Netherlands, Ronald Koeman resigned. And so far, 48 coaches had come into this tournament, but so far, ahead of the last 16, 7 have already been sacked or resigned from their roles. Such brutality still going on with the European teams also, Mark.
The thing with European football is that not European football, tournament football, sorry, is so brutal. Is the nature of tournament football to the point where a few games and all of a sudden you went into that tournament with almost an 100% winning record in the qualifiers. Then in the stage where it matters, some things don't go your way, and then all of a sudden you're out of a job. That's the ruthless nature of tournament football in particular. With league football, there is leeway where maybe you started slowly, but then you can get a couple of games, and then your team picks up the momentum, and in the end you achieve your targets. But with tournament football, it's that ruthless, which is cruel, but that's its nature. Koeman, I think, had been in charge of this side for 4 years. I think he took them through this current 4-year cycle, took them all the way to the semi-finals of Euro 2024. And then, they get bundled out on penalties. I thought they were doing very well. I thought they did do well at the tournament. But then, when you get eliminated, you resign because, you did not achieve your target, which was to win the World Cup. In terms of a team like Germany, I think, Nagelsmann recently came out and said that he's not going to resign, and I completely agree with him, because the reality of the matter is, even if they get rid of the manager and bring in someone like Klopp, if you don't change the fundamental problems that you already are experiencing as a footballing nation, then a managerial change will only be papering over the cracks. Remember, Germany were coached by Hansi Flick, who is also a top manager in his right, and his spell during his tenure as manager was ill-fated. Germany got eliminated at the group stages of 2022. They got eliminated in 2018, which forced Joachim Löw, I think, resigned after Euro 2020, but that was pretty much the beginning of the end. Nagelsmann is also a top coach in his own right, but same thing. I was reading something earlier today, and I think Germany simply need to restructure their youth football setup, because while France, Spain, and even England produce up to 600 youth players a year, or at least 600 youth players are featuring the under-21 league setups, and around like 15% of them are already getting minutes for their respective top leagues. In the Bundesliga, that is not the case. Less and less a German talent is getting a chance in the Bundesliga, which has a ripple effect on how the national team performs, because their under 21 setups aren't producing the goods like they used to maybe 5-6 years ago. So maybe that is something they need to revisit, and then maybe in 5 to 10 years they'll be a first-class nation again. Right now they are second-class nation in terms of football, and the results justify my point. So I think to sum it all up, what I'd say is, yes, changing a manager can kind of like paper over the cracks, but if you don't address your fundamental flaws, then you'll only go as far. So I think tournament football is ruthless. That's the nature of the sport, but they also need to fix up their fundamental flaws, and if they want to one day get back to the top. So that's the thing.
Okay. All right. Okay. Steve, look at these two nations being knocked out so early into the tournament. One of the, what you can say, tournament favorites, Germany, and the Dutch, the Orange. what does it mean in terms of just seeing smaller nations like Paraguay? Is it time that small nations are catching up with the elite sides? And maybe does it mean that we could have a surprise winner or champion at this FIFA World Cup in third edition?
You know, like me, I've already said, or I always say about football, you know, there is a leveling of the playing field in world soccer nowadays. You know, you can have teams like African teams that have been used not to fear their European counterpart or even South American counterparts, because today we have World Cup players like KB said already. You know, you have African players that can play, or they are playing in very, very good clubs in Europe, and they are showing their skills. And you know, in World Cup today, a team like Germany, for me, was not a favorite, because you know these last World Cups we saw what they have done. You know, so they were not very prepared to win this World Cup. But for sure, it is a surprise that they fall, or they fell on Paraguay, because you know, everybody thought that they could pass Paraguay, and or at later stages maybe it won't work. But you know, football is football, and everyone has its chances. So when you enter the pitch, you just have to give your maximum. That's why even we are disappointed about African teams, because when you see a team like Paraguay eliminating Germany, and you see what Cote d'Ivoire did against this same team in their group phases, you know, you are just disappointed, because Cote d'Ivoire had a chance to win that game against Germany also, but they didn't win it. So it's up to our African teams to be getting their chances when they have the chance to beat their team, so that it's what Morocco is doing. When Morocco is facing a team in Europe or even in South America, they are giving it all. They are doing everything that they can do so that they can beat them, and they do it. So you have to be more confident. And I think, you know, like I said already, there's no big teams in the world. Everyone got in the pitch and do everything they have to do so that they can win the game.
Of course. KB, before we welcome Dan Ogega here, KB, does it mean that small nations are now coming to compete with the elite nations, and they are soon going to catch up with them?
I think so. I mean, we've already seen an example of this happening with the African Cup of Nations. We have seen the smaller nations being able to compete with the bigger nations in Africa. And what's stopping them from doing so on a global stage? I mean, watching what the Cape Verde has done, going through the group stages undefeated, managing to only concede 2 goals throughout the group stages. And now they're going to be going up against Argentina. Who knows what they could do? I mean, we still have the likes of Australia, who could possibly be doing something later on in this World Cup, who are going up against Egypt. We still have Algeria, who are playing in the early AMs of tomorrow morning up against Switzerland. They still have a chance to qualify for the round of 16, and they could be doing some big things. I mean, we've seen it with Paraguay, we've seen it with Morocco against the Netherlands. So the whole notion in terms of the big nations and the small nations, I truly believe that the gap is lessening as time goes by, because I feel as though more footballing nations are understanding exactly what needs to be done in order for football to grow, in order for football to develop into their country. And in a couple of years' time, as a matter of fact, I think in 10 years' time, that gap is going to get even smaller and smaller and smaller, to the point where everyone can compete on an equal playing field, because we can produce the same level of quality, the same level of development, and the same level of players who can play at a world-class level for a very long time.
I want us to come to discuss about officiating soon, because I know all of you are waiting to just come here and lament, and of course complain about Senegal's penalty that they were harshly awarded yesterday evening. But then before that, Dan Ogega, welcome on the show. You are a bit late, but then welcome on board. We are discussing about, again, I lost him. Anyway, that's how things are whenever you are having a live broadcast here. But then let me just sample some comments here before we move on to the next talking point. Virginia Sancho Akio says that next to be knocked out is Argentina, and Brian Kuya says Kylian Mbappe is going to win the Golden Boot, and he says for African teams, I guess it's the high altitude and the lack of concentration in the last minutes of the game that is costing this AFCON or this African nations. Michael Ateku is watching all the way from Eldoret, Kenya, and of course, Captain Zed, I'm seeing you on that other end. You're also watching the show. I'm coming in a few minutes to just sample your sentiments there. But then, guys, officiating has been one of the biggest talking points at this World Cup. If you look at yesterday's events in Atlanta, in Georgia, you can say, is it a penalty or not a penalty, Mark? Mark, are you there?
Okay. The thing is, it's tough to call. It's tough to call because on one hand, if you look closely, there is contact. You know, as long as you've made contact, normally the referee should blow for a foul. But then again, there is this element where I feel like Yuri elements may have sort of like simulated the situation. But once Kamara makes contact, I think it makes it easier for the referee to make his final decision. When you look at the still image, yes, you'll see there is contact, but then to the naked eye, it's understandable why the referee may not have blown for a penalty at first. But then however minimal the contact is, the moment you've already made contact, unfortunately, that has to be a penalty in the end, because you can see made contact, albeit minimal, albeit soft. But like I said one more time, Senegal should not have let it get to this situation. So that's the unfortunate and cruel nature of the sport, I'm afraid.
Okay, KB. If you look at the videos once again, I don't know where. Okay, I agree there is contact between Lamine Kamara and Yuri Tielemans, but then is the contact enough to take Tielemans down inside the box?
I'll put it like this, right? If the challenge on Tielemans was deemed to be a penalty yesterday, then the challenge on Nicolas Pepe against Norway on Tuesday evening should have been deemed a penalty as well. Because if you look at the two challenges, Nicolas Pepe on Tuesday evening, he was in the box, he got to the ball first, there was contact under his foot, and then he fell down, the penalty was not given. I feel as with Yuri Tielemans, the same thing is happening here. There's contact with his foot. I feel as though it's not enough contact for it to be deemed a penalty, but they deem it a penalty. So if Yuri Tielemans' challenge is deemed a penalty, the same has to be said for Nicolas Pepe. And if that's the case, then I would say that then the Ivory Coast were screwed against Norway yesterday. Then they should have gotten a penalty. Because if you look at the two challenges, I think they fall within the same threshold in terms of what is deemed a penalty and what is not deemed a penalty. I think they one in the same.
Exactly, they one in the same. Lafon, I want to bring you with another incident here, and it involves an African team, Ghana, against England. Penalty or no penalty? Because in this case, one case was a penalty, and in this case for Ghana, there was no penalty awarded.
No, we were all unanimous that this one is a penalty. You can see the defender don't even got the ball. He was not focused on the ball. He was just wanted to push out the striker. So there were also so many new refereeing rules introduced just before this competition that sometimes I'm trying to understand them, because there was a lot of information coming around on the eve of the competition. So I can understand that some of the referees are trying to accommodate or are trying to get all the rules together. So for sure, we can have a competition without complaint about refereeing. So you just have to take it like that. And sometimes we just think that it is against African teams, because a lot of actions are against African teams. So we are very upset that It is football, and for me, sometimes it happens.
It's football, and sometimes it happens. Mark, look at all these tackles that I've just sampled, which have happened across this tournament so far. Would you say officiating has been fair so far, or not fair?
Okay. The thing is, officiating is subjective, depending on how you put it. I don't think anyone will sit here and say that I agree with this decision. If I agree with this decision, someone else will contrast with my my opinion as well. So I think on the basis of standards, I feel like this has been much better officiating to what we see across other leagues, more so in the English Premier League as well, where Pim goal is always under constant stick from fans as well, and pundits as well, and all stakeholders involved. Even here in Kenya as well, some decisions are made that are normally very controversial, to say the least. So I normally don't like commenting so much on officiating standards, because, like I said, it's subjective depending on how you put it, depending on the team you're supporting, depending on the team you're favoring. But the thing is, there are some calls that have been daft. Let's say, for example, this decision by the referee to hand Folarin Balogun a straight red card, in my opinion, was bizarre, But, that's the decision that the referee made at the end of the day. So I can't really say the officiating has been good. I can't really say the officiating has been bad. But like I said, it's subjective depending on how you want to put it.
KB, look at those. I believe you've been watching all those clips that have been playing on your sideline there. Would you say officiating has been fair, or how would you rate it? 1 out of 10?
I would say officiating at this World Cup has been a 4 out of 10, and the main reason why I would say is because it's been very inconsistent. In terms of whether or not it's been fair or unfair, as Mark mentioned, it's very subjective. It would depend on you and how you feel about it. But I would definitely say that the officiating at this tournament has been very inconsistent, because there have been some egregious challenges that of the same nature where people have been booked. So that's where the inconsistency comes in. I mean, you look at the challenge that Messi made. That should have been a straight red card. He should have been sent off straight away, but then he wasn't sent off. And then the very next day, the challenge of the same nature is made, but then that person gets sent off. So it's just the inconsistencies. I mean, if we're going to be officiating a certain challenge a certain way, then we need to officiate all challenges of that same nature the same way. So it's just the inconsistencies for me.
Inconsistency is the word for KB Modishane, all the way from Pretoria, South Africa. Steve Lavon, in Togo, what's your word? Because KB says it's inconsistency. What's your word that you pick?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, it is about interpretation. One referee will give a red card on the same action, and another one will not give it, and he will tell you for him it was not a harsh tackle, or it is not a very bad foul. So it is about interpretation, and I don't know. Referee is very, very hard. I once tried it, just in our suburb in Lome, trying to referee a game amongst young players, under 10 and under 12, and it was very, very difficult. So I can imagine refereeing a game at such level. So for sure, we have to complain, because we are journalists. We are observers of football, and we can complain saying this referee did it good. But at the end of the day, like I said, for me, there was also too much rules implemented in the game just before the competition. When it is like that, we are putting a lot of information in the head of the referees, and sometimes they can be lost. They can be lost in sometimes. So I think these changes should be coming maybe one year before the competition, because this one you can see just three months, or even about 3 months before the competition, there is a lot of new rules. All the new rules that I'm okay with, it's about where the players are wasting time. I think those rules are very, very good, and you can see that in this competition we are having more play, more football, that the players trying to waste time, trying to to fool the referee. So, but about refereeing, in the whole contest, we always be having this kind of a discussion, because all the games are not the same. One game is different from the other one, and one referee is different from the other one. So it's that.
Timing is the word from Stephen Lavon. Timing of the rules is the word for Stephen Lavon. What do you say on the comment section here? Ryan or Virginia Sancho Q says, poor officiating. Messi deserved a red card. And of course, Trackside Legal says, African teams seem to lack finishing power. And Brian Queer says, this one is same to one that England didn't get a penalty. For me, this is poor officiating. Mark, you have something to say?
No. I completely agree. Like I said, and Stephen rightly put it. We are putting so much information into the minds of these referees, to the point of view where we are actually confusing them. It becomes so difficult, especially when you are under so much pressure to make a decision that might impact the outcome and the hopes of two hopeful nations. They end up becoming the subject of discussion, when in real sense they shouldn't. And like again, I will give this example of the Balogun situation. Yes, maybe he was adjudged to have committed serious foul play of the fact that he landed on the defender's leg. I think that's how they adjudged it. But again, it wasn't intentional. It's not like he was actively going out to harm him, because in real sense this is a 50-50 duel. If you think about it, this is a 50-50 duel where they end up clattering into each other, and then someone is given a red card, which is very unfair. And then compared to the Messi situation, maybe the referee was, and this may be, call me naive, and this may be a daft and naive take, but maybe the referee may have looked at the fact that this is Messi, I can't just give him a red card, otherwise the whole world will consume me with anger, so maybe there is that aspect. Call me naive, but maybe there is that element as well. So and like Modishane rightly put it, where is the consistency? Yes, make these decisions, but at the end of the day, where is the consistency when it comes to making these kind of decisions? Because the outcome of the Ivory Coast game maybe perhaps would have been different. But this is a conversation that needs a podcast on its own, because I summing it up in like 2-3 minutes won't do enough justice. But those are my opinions on the matter.
Okay, Virginia Sancho Kio here says Messi is Project FIFA. That's why he can't be punished. Those are her sentiments, not the sentiments of this show, as she says them. Then this convo can continue today, tomorrow, next week, next year. It will never end. It's just like Messi and Ronaldo. It will never end, because officiating has been inconsistent in the Premier League, in La Liga, in wherever in the world. Technology comes with its own disadvantage, and that's what we are seeing at the FIFA World Cup. And of course, as we continue, maybe some more will come, but then what we are calling for is at least to try to reduce those errors. Ryan Odeng on YouTube says, legit panel this is. Thank you so much for joining and tuning on YouTube, watching us live. Just send in your sentiments. Tell us who do you think is going to win the Golden Boot race, and of course, why or what do you think is ailing African teams at this tournament in the knockout phase. And of course, tell me, where are you watching this show? This is Dai Dai World Cup edition, live on Walk with Sagini. Now, let's just cross over and talk about this guy who we just mentioned on the show here, Lionel Messi, Argentina's all-time top scorer. And so far, so good for him, because at the moment, as things stand, he is the leading goal scorer at this tournament with 6 goals apiece, with France's Kylian Mbappe on the top of that log. Of course, he also sits on the throne of World Cup ever top scorers list with how many goals? Is it 19 now? And Kylian Mbappe sitting on 18 goals. These two look like they're going head on till the last game. But then the biggest question is France. So far as you look at them, there's this front trio attack of Olise and of course Mbappe and Dembele from PSG. They seem like the deadliest attack at this World Cup. Where could they end, KB? Will we see them in the final again against Argentina, maybe?
This attack is so dangerous. You definitely cannot write them off in terms of making the finals. I think the most important question we need to be asking about this attack is, when the time comes, are they able to put their egos aside and play for the betterment of the team? You understand? Because you've got superstars in Kylian Mbappe and Ousmane Dembele. I mean, Ousmane Dembele is a Ballon d'Or winner. He just won back-to-back Champions League titles. In fact, he won back-to-back trebles and quadruples with PSG. And then, of course, you've got Kylian Mbappe, the star boy himself, won the World Cup at age 19, became the first teenager since Pelé in 1958 to score in a World Cup final. He became the first player since Jeff First in 66 to score a hat-trick in the World Cup final 4 years ago, ending off as the Golden Boot winner. There's goals in this attack. There are assists in this attack. There's pace in this attack. There's creativity in this attack. There's skill in this attack. I mean, you absolutely cannot bet against France at this point. You cannot.
You cannot bet against France at this point. Honestly speaking, Steve, before this tournament kicked off, I had written off France, saying that I don't see them going so far in the knockout phase. But then, as things stand, I have already changed my sentiments. I think they can go as far as the final, even past the final.
Yeah. I think you were wrong, not putting them as one of the contenders for this World Cup, because France lineup for this World Cup is very, very impressive. In every position, France has incredible players. The goalkeeper Menya, the defender Saliba, Upamecano, Tchouameni, and the front three of Olise, Dembele, and Mbappe. I think this team won't be far from winning this World Cup, And as you saw in the last 2 World Cups, they were even at the final. So every 4 years, this team succeed to regenerate his lineup. You have always players that can put you far in this competition, and I think their strength also is their coach. The coach is there since 12 years. So he knows his players very, very well, and also he knows how to handle this kind of competition. And like KB said already, the concentration, the focus of those players on the field, they know that they are on a mission. They came to the USA to go and grab this World Cup, and I think they will do everything to get it. And that this season, or even last season also, Mbappe didn't win anything with his club of Real Madrid. So I think this World Cup is his only chance to get something this year, and he's doing everything in his favor, in his strength to win this World Cup. I think they can do it. Even before the start of the competition, I put France in final. So I'm just waiting for the other opponent to go there also.
Okay, great. As Steve says that he's waiting for France in the final, Mark. So who will stop, or who seems like is able to stop Le Bleu?
The only guys who will stop Le Bleu are Le Bleu themselves. I'm not saying this because I have a soft spot for France, but I'm saying this because they have no weaknesses whatsoever. I have really been struggling to think of a weakness that they have, and I struggle to come up with something, because leave aside the fabulous front four, fabulous five, because Desiree Doué and Bradley Bacola are rotating on the left hand side. The center forward slot is already cemented by Mbappe. The number 10 role is well filled by Michael Olise, and then there is Ousmane Dembele, a Ballon d'Or holder on the right. Then on the bench, you have someone like Ryan Cherki, who's capable of producing the unexpected off the bench. Then in midfield, yes, you've got Chouameni, you've got Adrien Rabiot, and then you've got Manu Kone, who, by the way, in my opinion, is a top 5 team in England should be snapping him up, because he reminds me so much of Declan Rice, except he's slightly more progressive on the ball. At the back, there is Dayot Upamecano, there is William Saliba, who's considered the best defender in the world. On the flanks, on the at fullback, Digne, is managing to keep out the Hernandez brothers. So I can hardly think of a weakness that they have in their team. And then the fact that they have, a manager who's been there and done it, a leader of men who, has mastered the art of progressing through knockout rounds. So unless something unusual happens, because in football anything happens, like where maybe a daft VAR decision is made against them, or maybe luck just runs out on their side, I think it's going to be very difficult to stop them, and I fully expect them to retain the title that they lost in 2022 to Argentina. So I can hardly think of anything that will stop them apart from that.
Favor is watching from Kampala, Uganda. Sebalinyo, asante sana for watching the show this afternoon or this evening in Kampala, Uganda. Favor. And of course, you just mentioned one player who I want us to focus on right now before we close the show, because why can't we talk about him? Ryan Cherki. Cherki has come under some spotlight because at that final whistle in the round of 32 game, after that 4-0 win, Ryan Cherki kind of snubbed France's coach Didier Deschamps. I believe he wants some more playtime. He's had few or little playtime minutes under Leblay at this World Cup. Why do you think it's so, Steve?
It is the manner of B players, it is always like that. When you are at the World Cup at such level of competition, you want to show yourself also. And we know that Ryan Cherki, even since he started playing at his childhood Lyon club, he always wanted to play. And today that he is playing his trade in Manchester City, he wants to show that he is one of those players that can help the team. But me for myself, I can see that today there are players that are in front of him, like Olise, Dembele. They have to play before him, and he have to accept that. When you are in a team for the World Cup, I don't know how to put it, but the collective should pass before the individual. And I think Deschamps will have a discussion with Cherki, because everyone saw that action at the end of last game, and it was not a good one. When you want to go far in a competition like a World Cup, you have to have all the players together. You have to have all the players seeing the team in one way, so that you can succeed. So the manner of Cherki is not good, but I can understand it, because it is a very good player, and he wants also to have more playing time, and it is normal. When you are a player, you always want to be on the pitch. You always want to be playing, and it is a good one. But you don't have to show this kind of behavior in the front of the world, in front of all the cameras toward your national team coach. So. Like I said, I'm sure that Deschamps will have a discussion with him, so that he can be focused on the collective objective of this French team better than his individual objective. So I think they will deal with it, and he also will understand that France is in the USA to win the World Cup, and not only Cherki.
KB, if I am a player, I am a star, man. I've played at top football level in Europe. I want to play some more games. You'll feel that in that last group game for France, maybe perhaps Deschamps should have started Ryan Cherki to start rather than use him as a substitute. Do you think it's a valid reason for him to claim or to behave that way?
Well, at the end of the day, the coach's decision is final. And DJ Deschamps has his own tactics and he has his own plans in terms of how he wants to play his team and how he wants to play the team going forward in the tournament. I mean, they're going to be going up against tough competition in the knockout rounds. I mean, there's still the round of 16 coming up. We've still got the quarterfinals, we've still got the semifinals, and we still have the finals as well. On top of that, if you look at the team that France have, I mean, all of that attacking power that they possess, it's obviously going to be very difficult for someone like a Ryan Cherki to be able to get some game time within the squad. I mean, look at someone like Marcus Thuram. He's a proper number 9, a proper striker. He has been doing great things for Inter Milan, but he is not starting for France in the number 9 position. It's obviously Kylian Mbappe that's starting there. I think what Ryan Cherki needs to understand is that international football is different compared to club football. International football, there's going to be those moments where there's so much talent within the team that not everyone can be taken, and there's going to be many years where France are going to have that dilemma where they're going to have so much attacking talent. I mean, look who they already have right now. They've got the likes of Kylian Mbappe, Ousmane Dembele, Desiree Doué, Michael Olise, Bradley Barcola. I think I mentioned Desiree Doué already, but they have so much attacking talent already. There's Marcus Thuram as well. I think the best thing that Ryan Cherki can do for himself is when the time comes and he is needed to step onto the field, will he be ready to accept the challenge? Will he be ready to play under that spotlight, under that pressure, that it is up to him to change the game for France? And I think that's the most important thing that Ryan Cherki needs to focus on, because that France team, it's too much. It's too much at this point. It's too much.
Mark, as KB says that France team has a lot, and I can say that maybe it's too much quality. But then, what do you think are some of the factors contributing that are making Ryan Cherki to sit on the bench and rather not start in the starting 11 for Didier Deschamps?
Okay, let's first address the elephant in the room, who's Michael Olise. Michael Olise is off the back of delivering, a season where he registered over 30 assists for Bayern Munich, which is just crazy. Number 2 is the fact of Ryan. Most of these players that are playing together, that is Mbappe, Olise, Ousmane Dembele, and Desiree Doué, are players who interrotate in game. They have elite of the ball movement. They are players who naturally understand each other, and off the ball they are running. Ousmane Dembele now runs because he's worked under Luis Enrique, who insists that running is a non-negotiable for him. So these are players who kind of understand themselves tactically on and off the ball. And in Olise's case, I think he's adapted so well to the Griezmann role from 2022, where he's the one who's serving as the focal point of the team. He's the one who's holding up the ball. He's the one who's spraying those line-breaking passes that release Kylian Mbappe into space, and that's why he's getting as many goals as he is. I'm not saying that Ryan Cherki can't do that. He's improved tremendously and tactically in this solitary season he played under Pep Guardiola at Manchester City, and emerged as the top assister, if I'm not wrong, in the Premier League last season. But after Bruno Fernandes, of course, who set a new record of Premier League assists. But fact of the matter is, Ryan Cherki is still young, and he still has more time under his locker to prove he's the next big thing in French football. He has been the tipped to be the next big thing in French football for a long time. I can remember his shouts from 2019 when he was still at the Lyon Academy. But fact of the matter is, there is a hierarchy ahead of him that are on form and actually delivering at the biggest stage right now. So, like I said when I shared on Cristiano Ronaldo last week, I'm going to say he has to put the team first, because in 2 or 3 weeks' time, when he wins the World Cup, you won't remember that he wasn't getting enough game time. He should actually be lucky he's even getting game time, because like Modishane said, someone like Marcus Thuram hasn't even gotten much as a sniff so far the tournament. A legend like N'Golo Kante hasn't also gotten much as a sniff, so that's how strong they are. So he should actually be grateful that he's even getting minutes, given the quality of the squad that they have at the moment. So like we say in Swahili, atulie, his time will come. That's what it means. His time will come, and he still has his whole career ahead of him. So be patient, wait for your chance. Maybe someone might get an injury and you might end up starting the final. So like I said, his time will come.
Okay, great. What I say,
you know, I love that quote.
Yeah.
Wait for your moment, wait for your time. I love that quote, you know.
Because I believe there are quite a number of players who would have loved just to be part of the team or the traveling squad to USA. Not even playing, but just to be part of the traveling team, let alone having some 2 minutes to play. But then Virginia Sancho on Facebook says Mbappe for the golden boot. Brian Kuya on Chucky, he says Chucky has too much trickeries that I don't think can help France. For now, it's one-touch pass into spaces. I think he's right, because Ryan Chucky, we've seen him at Man City, he's full of trickery, juggling the football, and too much showboating. And this is tournament football, whereby you only need a pass, score, and you move to the next level. It's not a matter of how good I am in skills. It's a matter of how are we going to get the win and move into the next round. As we come to a close, ladies and gentlemen, we have to check on to who has gotten into the round of 16 so far. As things stand, 10 nations, including one African nation, that is Morocco, the Atlas Lions, into the last 16. As you can see there on that table, on that chart, of course, Morocco will be facing Canada this time coming soon. Will they make it into the quarterfinals again after sealing a semi-final spot in 2022, 4 years ago in Qatar? That and that much more, you'll just let me know in the comment section. But of course, another big match that we'll be waiting for is Brazil against who? Yes, Norway. Erling Haaland against Gabriel Magalhaes. Yesterday night, we saw Haaland against it was a big fight, and of course we are waiting Sunday for Brazil against Norway. It will be one of the biggest matches or fixtures in the last 16 of this FIFA World Cup in the USA, Canada, and of course Mexico. But then of course, look at tonight's fixtures. Tonight's menu is also quite delicious and quite we can say welcoming. La Roja of Spain will be facing Austria in some few minutes to come. But of course, Portugal against Croatia. Ronaldo versus his former teammate at Madrid, that is Luka Modric. And of course, early morning, Algeria against Switzerland. I just want 1 minute analysis on this, another African nation. Algeria versus Switzerland. Steve, will we see another 86th unluckiness for Algeria?
You know, I'm putting some money on Algeria for this game. I think they have all that is take to pass through Switzerland. They have been doing good since the starting of this World Cup. Only Argentina was tough for them in the first group in their first game, but I think they have everything that is good. You can see that Mahrez is improving also. I'm happy to see that, because he was not expected to start in these games, but since 2 games he was doing very, very well, and also I think he can help this team. And but it won't be easy, because Switzerland team is a very good team. You can see what they did in the first group with strikers like Mbolo and their captain Denis Zakaria. They have a good team, but I think Algeria can go through, and I'm putting a piece on them.
KB, Algeria against Switzerland, early morning. We have to be up by 5 a.m. East African time, 4 a.m. South African time. And of course, this will be 3 a.m. in Togo. Can Algeria make it a second national team into the last 16 for Africa?
I mean, look, it's going to be a tough game for the Algerians in that one, because Switzerland are a very good team. They got some very good players on their squad. I mean, they've got the likes of Noah Okafor, Bria Lumbolo, Granit Xhaka still doing his thing in the midfield. I think if Algeria are gonna get the win against Switzerland in the early AMs of tomorrow morning, Algeria need to stop Switzerland from playing their game. They need to keep Switzerland off the ball. They need to win the midfield battle against the Swiss. If they can do that, then Algeria can do anything in that game.
Mark Ijanjui, Algeria, Switzerland, and keep in mind that we only have now 5 African nations remaining in this tournament. Will we see another one getting knocked out, Ali?
It's going to depend. Like I said, like Modishane said, whoever wins the battle of the midfield is going to progress, because Switzerland are one of the most experienced sides at the moment. I think they have low-key one of the strongest midfields of the entire tournament, because in Granit Xhaka and Frauler, you have someone who can keep things ticking, while the other player provides the legs to the midfield. And then they've got an equally exciting player called Johan Manzambi, who surges forward, has that ability to find the back of the net, has that ability to spray killer passes. So if they are able to contain that kind of midfield, I think from there it's going to be rather straightforward for them, because in equal measure, Algeria have got pace on the flanks that they can use to exploit and potentially use that to their advantage. So, but if they are able to contain the Swiss midfield, then I think from there it's going to be easier for them. But that's going to be one interesting game, and I wouldn't be surprised if it gets all the way to extra time and potentially penalties.
Potential penalties, as Mark says. I want you guys to comment just one word on this last one. Portugal against Croatia. Ronaldo versus Luka Modric. Should Ronaldo start? Steve Lavon?
Yeah, Ronaldo should start all games. No, he should start all games. This guy have done so much to football. Yeah. We need him. We need him in the games, because we don't know at any moment he can make the difference. So he should start. And this game will be a very, very difficult one for Portugal for sure. But I can see them going through. And I'm seeing also a potential penalty shootout in this one.
Okay, KB, should Ronaldo start, or should he start on the bench? Is it time for Goncalo Ramos on the starting 11?
Nah, I think Ronaldo should start this game. I think this is going to be a game where Ronaldo might just surprise the world and he might just show up against the Croatians. But if Portugal are to get the win today, there's one thing that they need to do. They must not let Croatia take it to extra time. If Croatia take it to extra time, they are done. Portugal are done, because we have seen in recent World Cup editions, Croatia in extra time are a different beast. They've been able to knock out Brazil at the last World Cup, and there's nothing stopping them from eliminating Portugal this time around. So if Portugal can win it in regulation time, they'll be good.
They'll be good. And of course, Mark, Ronaldo against Modric, you'd feel that this is the first biggest test for Portugal that will maybe define if they are real contenders for the World Cup this year.
On Ronaldo starting, I think I'm going to disagree with my South African brother. And like I say, it's nothing to do with Ronaldo, the legend. He's achieved a lot, but I'm looking at it from the point of view of how Croatia set up. Croatia a side that will set up mid to low block, and will deny Ronaldo the obvious space he thrives on to get in behind. So I think for this game, I think, in my opinion, they should start Goncalo Ramos for that game, for potentially the first 50 to 60 minutes, just to try and try out the Croatia centre backs, and then bring on Ronaldo potentially in the 60th minute, or maybe Roberto Martinez might adjust and potentially ditch starting wingers who provide the width. If you're going to start Ronaldo, play him alongside a more energetic striker who brings others into play, so I can bring a sense of balance. But starting Ronaldo in this current setup, I think will end in tears, because I watched their game against Colombia, and they were really struggling to retain possession in the final third, and that is, Ronaldo is not the type to hold the ball up for you. So Colombia were constantly taking advantage of transitional situations and were incredibly profligate that day. I think that's a game they should have won by 3-0. So I think if they are to stand a chance of progressing against a highly experienced Croatia side that have made the last two semi-finals of the last two previous World Cups, I think they're going to have to swallow the bitter pill and ask Ronaldo to sit down for the first 50 minutes and then bring him on in the 60th minute when the defenders are sort of like tiring out, and then try and see if they can nick a goal before stoppage time, because if they let it get to stoppage time and extra time penalties, then Croatia will be through. So that's my opinion on the matter.
Okay, don't forget that tomorrow evening, another African nation will be on the road to secure the second, or could be maybe the third ticket into the last 16 for the African continent. The Pharaohs of Egypt will be facing Australia at 9 p.m. East African time tomorrow evening. Will we see the Pharaohs and Mo Salah making it into the last 16, or it could be the end of the road for the Pharaohs? That is much more tomorrow. But of course, as of now, we are just minutes away to witness the 83rd game of this FIFA World Cup. Of course, it is La Roja of Spain facing off with Austria. Who is going to take the victory this afternoon or this evening? Ladies and gentlemen, on that note, I just want to say a big thank you, Asante Sana, for tuning into this show. And I humbly say thank you and Asante Sana to my panelist here, Mark Nyanjui, all the way from Nairobi, Kenya, and KB Modishane. I call him the big dog from Pretoria, South Africa, and of course, Stephen Lavon from Lom, Togo. Merci beaucoup, KB Modishane, Giabonga, Mark Nyanjui, asante sana for making time to be part and parcel of this show. We're going to do this thing, of course, once again next week on episode 4. It could be maybe 4 or 5 African teams into the last 16, or maybe into the quarters. Who knows? This has been Dai Dai Iko, the World Cup edition, live on Walk with Sagini. My name is Jason Sagini, the sports archbishop. As always, sports is us, and we are the sports. Thank you so much, and have a lovely evening and also a lovely night. Kwaheri.